Mafia 3's story continues with its second DLC, Stones Unturned. With 3 to 4 hours of new missions, weapons, vehicles, and more, this content offers a satisfying, explosive respite from the streets of New Bordeaux. Hey guys, JV here sharing my review of the Stones Unturned DLC for Mafia 3. As always, if you like what I do here and want to see more, be sure to subscribe. Full disclosure, I received this content from my review copy courtesy of 2K Games. My review of the full game is linked in the description below. As a story-focused DLC, Stones Unturned features John Donovan, which is one of the most likable characters from the full game. In fact, if there's one thing that I remember the most outside of the main plot of the story following Lincoln, it is John Donovan. He is that compelling. So John needs Lincoln's help to track down and kill an old rival from his past, and you learn more about this character through the DLC, through fully featured cutscenes and cinematics just like in the real game. So this thing is really fleshed out. Along the way, it turns into a more diabolical plot straight out of a Die Hard movie. It's kind of silly in that way, but at the same time, it fits within the rest of the game, so it's not out of place there. But I was really impressed by how everything was built out and the story was presented in such a way that it really belongs. I mean, without spoiling anything about this DLC, the story is great. It feels like it belongs within Mafia 3. It's not one of those DLCs where it, feels tacked on as this extra piece of content that was just made to sell. Obviously, that's what DLC is, but this really feels like it's a cohesive part of the full game. Seeing Donovan and Lincoln work together again was reminiscent of the full game, and seeing them fight together, which is something I don't believe we had in the full game. It's been a while, so forgive me if I'm wrong, but you get to fight together with John Donovan as Lincoln, and that's a blast. And I think them working together really delivers on the promise of what you got in the full game. And thanks to the great writing and performances, everything's well acted and again, believable, cohesive with the rest of the content. And so when you actually get into the DLC, the first portion is in New Bordeaux. I would say the first maybe 30% is in New Bordeaux, kind of setting up the events of the story in the DLC. But the best part brings you to a tropical island that you've never been to before. Now, this island is really cool for several reasons. First, it feels like Vietnam, and that's on purpose because we know that John Donovan and Lincoln met in Vietnam. Back when Lincoln served in the war, Donovan is the one who trained him and made him into the killing machine that he is. And Donovan is not just doing his field ops, reconnaissance work. He's actually with Lincoln down there shooting bad guys with him. And that's a really cool feeling because it makes you think back to their past that you don't actually get to see back in Vietnam. So that's why the island is cool in that way, but also it is beautiful. The island is gorgeous. I was playing on PC with a controller. There were still, some graphical hitches here and there, nothing that wasn't in the full game. And as we know, technical issues are one of the setbacks that Mafia 3 had and still has, unfortunately. These things haven't been ironed out with the DLC. You'll see some things pop in here and there. The sky will kind of glitch. Random objects will appear out of nowhere. So that stuff does happen in this DLC. But the island is just one big set piece and it's gorgeous. There's lots of great cutscenes and different shots and gameplay sequences where I was stopped and I said, wow, this looks fantastic. This is awesome. Donovan's rival and the main antagonist for the DLC's name is Aldrich, and he's all right as a villain. I think he looks a little bit silly, so that kind of brought me out of it a little bit. But I felt that this DLC was more about watching John Donovan and Lincoln, work together towards a goal and kind of experiencing that story. So I wasn't too bothered by him being not so great of a villain. All the cutscenes really bring this story together, and I didn't expect it, but we also got another shot, another bit of that tape from the committee who's questioning John Donovan about the events of what happened with the specific bad guy character, Connor Aldrich. And so that's something that I really didn't expect. And if you played Mafia 3, then you remember that was a constant thing with the story. We got an inside peek into the future, I guess you could say, or the present it would be. And we're playing through the past of what John Donovan is dealing with the United States, government. So you get more of that. And that's something I didn't expect. It was kind of a nice addition. Onto the gameplay. There's not much new about the way that you play Mafia 3 with Stones Unturned. There are more weapons and stuff like that, more vehicles, and so there's more of the stuff that you've already had, but nothing that really reinvents the wheel, which, it's something sometimes you get with a DLC, sometimes you don't. So you've got a lot of cover-based shooting. You also have Donovan with you, like I explained, and they introduced this odd revive mechanic that I thought it was a little strange and more annoying than anything. I don't know why we have to revive John Donovan. I don't know if that was, you know, a realism decision or something like that, but you don't even need to revive him. All you need to do is kill everyone, then he picks himself up. So it's kind of like other games in that way, but I found this a little annoying more than anything to have to constantly hear John, you know, I need help or I'm gonna die, you know, in the distance. The weapons introduced in this DLC are very fun to use. I believe they're all explosives. I could be wrong with that, but there's a grenade launcher and then 2 bazookas. One is like a traditional bazooka, the other one is an RPG, and they are very fun, highly explosive weapons, and you really needed them in certain situations to knock out some of the turrets and more difficult enemies. And speaking of turrets, we have turret-mounted vehicle sequences. I believe there were 4 or 5 throughout the story, and they are a lot of fun. One of them was before you go to the island, but you have several when you're actually on the island, and it's really cool having John drive, and finally Lincoln can shoot instead of drive, because it seems like Lincoln drives everywhere with every single character. So that led to a lot of the set piece moments in the DLC, which were really cool. So as a narrative driven game, I would call Mafia 3 definitely a narrative driven game. I didn't expect much more in terms of gameplay here. There's not much that innovates, like I said, just more of what you already have. After completing the main story of this DLC, you're not done. The game opens up bounty missions in the open world of New Bordeaux. So you go back and you can complete these missions from a quirky side character who gets introduced named Marshall, I believe. He's pretty funny. He has some fun interactions with John Donovan. As a bounty hunter, you get a sleep dart, which you use on your bounties. Of course, you have to bring the people back alive. You're not allowed to kill them. And so that's a little bit of a mix-up. You have to actually knock them out or sleep them with the dart and then put them in the trunk of a car and bring them back. And I found the first few to be pretty entertaining, but I didn't care to continue past the first 2 bounties because it felt like I had already been there and done that in my first playthrough. As you guys know, there is so much errand running that is outside of the main story. In fact, you could argue everything that's not the main story is errand running. Overall, I found Stones Unturned to be another solid chapter of the narrative and something that I wanted to see more of. I wanted to see more of John Donovan because I always thought he was a really cool character, and I think a lot of people did too. And really, I feel this DLC is a reflection of the overall game as well, just on a smaller scale, because you get that narrative and it takes you to a new place, which I thought was really awesome. I think they did a great job with that. But then you also get these bounty missions and little side things that you can do if you want to, which is just like the full game. To me, this is clearly a piece of content that people who enjoyed Mafia 3 will like. It's made for people that enjoyed the game, and I think that John Donovan truly sells this DLC. If you thought John was an interesting character in the original game, this is something you definitely want to experience and play. On the other hand, I'm not sure this is something that's going to drive game sales. I think it is kind of predicated on you knowing who this character is, because if you don't know, then I don't know why you would necessarily hop in and, you know, experience this DLC. So definitely made for people who enjoyed Mafia 3, and as one of those people, I certainly enjoyed my 3 hours with Stones Unturned. So I'd like to ask you all in the comment section below, are you still playing Mafia 3? Are you experiencing this DLC if you got the season pass? So far we've gotten one before this, one story narrative-based DLC. Then we've gotten this one, and there's still one due in July, I believe, and I'll definitely be playing that as well. So I'd love to know, are you guys still playing Mafia 3? It came out last year, so it's almost been a year. Let me know in the comment section below. If you're still watching and you enjoy the video, click the like button and subscribe for more content like this. Follow me on Twitter and Facebook so you don't miss another video. Sign up with Juniper to receive exclusive discounts on shirts, hoodies, and more at the JV merch store. Click the link in the description below for more details. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.